This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Bruchim Avam. Welcome everyone. Parshas Mishpatim. Parshas Mishpatim, for many, doesn't always seem like the most exciting parsha. It talks about torts, damages. Masechta Bava Kama is based on Parshas Mishpatim. And the four primary categories of damage that the Mishna begins in Bava Kama with are Arba, Avos, Nazikin. The four primary categories of damage are Hashar, the ox. We know Shar could include many different types of damage. You have Shane, you have Regel, you have Keren. So that's Shar. Vahabar, a pit. Someone digs a pit and causes damage. Vahamaveh, it's Machlokes Rav and Shmuel, whether Maveh refers to Shane or Maveh refers to Adam. We're going to go with the opinion that Maveh refers to Adam. Vahahever, and Hever is fire. Okay, so most people, if they went to a yeshiva, they learned Masechta Bava Kama. I don't think you can make it through yeshiva without learning Masechta Bava Kama. And the first Tosfos in Masechta Bava Kama is bothered by the question that the Tana says Arba Avos Nazikin, but there's one word that seems to be absent. There's one word conspicuously absent from the Mishnah, and that is, it should say the word Hain. Arba Avos Nazikin, Hain. You know, if we would translate literally, Arba Avos Nazikin, four categories of damages. Yeah, what about them? You need some kind of defining word. It should say Arba Avos Nazikin, Hain. There are four categories of damage. What happened to the word Hain? There are. So Tosfos seems to be bothered by this question, especially in context of the fact, by the way, just for your visual and the visual enhancement of the Shiur, not only did I make you Mar Mekayimos, but I gave you the ornate box around the word Arba. I gave you two of them just to make things a lot more exciting for you. So Tosfos is bothered. Arba Avos Nazikin. Tosfos in the context of the fact that in other places in Shas it does say the word Haim or Hain. For example, if you look in Masechta Krisos, look at number 5. There it says Arba Mechusare Kapara. There are four people who are lacking atonement. In other words, there are four types of situations where even if the person goes to the mikvah, they still need to bring a carbon. The Mishnah there says a zav, a zava, a yoledes, a mitzara, and there, lo and behold, it doesn't say the word hain. Again, the word hain is missing. The word hain is... Somebody asked me, we're going to spend time on why it doesn't say hain in the Mishnah? Yeah, that's what we're doing. We have nothing better to do, I guarantee you. Okay? This is the most important thing that you need to be thinking about. Why does the Mishnah not say hain in Bava Kama? It doesn't say hain in Masechta Krisos, and yet Tosfos says, if you look in Masechta Rosh Hashanah, look at number 7, Arba Rosh Hashanim Haim. Or if you look in Masechta Shavuos, look at number 6, Arba Shoimrim Hain. There are, it says the word hain. Shemer Chinam, Shoyel, Noisei Sachar, Socher. So there, it does say hain. So basically, you have Bava Kama, it doesn't say hain. You have Krisos, it doesn't say hain. And Masechta Shavuos, it does. Masechta Rosh Hashanah, it does. So, question is there a method to the methodology, right? Is there a pattern over here? What's the reason? So Tosfos, look at number 2. Tosfos is bothered by this question. Tosfos says as follows: Is duchta delay tani hain? There are places that it doesn't say hain. Kamay hacha, like here in Bava Kama. Uvi Gemara gabe shalosh esrei aves nazikin. Later on, the Gemara brings a brisa that there is an opinion there are 13 categories of damage. There also it doesn't say hain. And in Masechta Krisos Daf Ches, it says Arba Mechusare Kapara, and it also doesn't say hain. And says Tosfos V'is Duchta Duktani Hain. Sometimes it does say hain. For example, in the Masechta Shavuos, Arba Shoimrin Hain, and in Masechta Rosh Hashanah, Arba Rosh Hashanah Hain. Now, where I come from, Tosfos doesn't ever say anything. Right? If somebody never learned how to learn a Tosfos, then they would just read Tosfos. Tosfos is saying sometimes it says hain, sometimes it doesn't say hain. Where I come from, not only does Tosfos never just say something, Rashi doesn't say anything. Whenever Tosfos says something, there's a kasha and there's a teretz. So what's Tosfos' kasha? And what's Tosfos' answer? The question obviously is, why sometimes does it say hein, and sometimes it doesn't say hein, right? Tosfos is making an observation. Sometimes in Shas it gives a number and it says hein, and sometimes in Shas it gives a number and it doesn't say hein. That's Tosfos' kasha. And the answer is, what's the answer? That's right. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. In other words, whatever. By the way, the word whatever is the worst word in the world, right? Rapam used to say that there's certain words in the English language that cannot be used. So somebody once wanted to ask Rapam about a certain word, whether you're allowed to say it or not. I don't even want to say what the word, whatever, it's not a terrible word, it's not a klola, it's not a curse. So they were embarrassed to ask Rapam, so they went to Rapam, they wanted to ask about S-H-U-T, and then U-P. Could you say that word? Is it mutter to say that word? But they were embarrassed to ask Rapam. So they went to Rapam, they said, Rabbi, there's certain words that are not, it's not nevala, but maybe it's nitchain, maybe it's not so nice. So Rapam said, what are you talking about? You mean like fres? So they dropped the question. Okay? To Rapam, the word fres, it's a disgusting word. Fres. You shouldn't even say the word. Like a certain attitude toward food, to be like so into food, to be so into Rapam. No, I don't mean any connotation, but it's not a word to you. You don't use that word when it comes. We'll see. Anyway, so the word hein, so that's a whatever. Rapam would say you can't use the word whatever. Why? Because whatever means you don't know how to think. Whatever. I don't want to say exact. Why don't you want to say exact? Because you're too lazy to pinpoint the exact word that defines what you're talking about. So you'd rather just be casual and walk around schlumpy and whatever. No, you don't use the word whatever. You don't think casually. There's a certain way to talk. There's something called dibor. God gave you dibor. It's supposed to be used properly. Anyway, that has nothing to do with anything. But Tosfos says that it says the word, what's the answer? Why sometimes it say hein, sometimes it doesn't say the word hein? The answer is, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Don't make a big deal. You don't make a big deal about it. Basically, there's no rhyme or reason. So other, yeah, other, nir, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Tosfos in Masechta Rosh Hashanah, though, says a little differently. Look at number 8. Says Tosfos in Masechta Rosh Hashanah, says Tosfos, Arba Rosh Hashanah hein. Right, Tosfos is going on the Mishna, there are 4 Rosh Hashanahs. Says Tosfos, when does it say hein, when doesn't it say hein? Says Tosfos, Bechol duchti tani hein. It always says hein. Always. Huh? It always says hein. What about Baba Kama? What about Krisos? No, Tosfos says it always says hein. Like here in Masechta Rosh Hashanah. Like in Masechta Shavuos, Arba Shoimrim hein. Like in Masechta Chulin, it talks about 3 pegimois of the knife. Like in Masechta Avodah Zarah, it talks about 3 different bad wines. Further on in Avodah Zarah, it talks about 3 batim, 3 avonim, 3 lines. And it always says hein. It says Tosfos, it just always says hein. What about Baba Kama where it doesn't say hein? Says Tosfos, Baba Kama. You know why it doesn't say hein there? Because really, we don't really care to list the Dalet Avos Nazikin. Shar, Bar, Maveh, Hever. Everybody knows that there's an ox could do damage. Everybody knows that a pit could do damage. Everybody knows Maveh. Everybody knows. The only reason why we list those 4 damages is because the Mishnah then continues. If you remember, Loira Izeh Kari Izeh. You can't learn Shein from. You can't learn Shar from Bar. You can't learn Bar from Adam. You can't learn Adam from Eish. So it's really for the end of the Mishnah. So we don't need to say the word hein, because the emphasis is not on the hein, on the Avos Nazikin. The emphasis is on, rather, the end of the Mishnah. So in Masechta Baba Kama, Tosfos basically says there's no rhyme or reason. Sometimes yeah, sometimes no. But Tosfos in Rosh Hashanah says it always says hein. Baba Kama, we don't really care what the Dalet Avos Nazikin are per se. It's really just an introduction for the next part of the Mishnah. So, I'm not sure if we featured here yet, but one of the great early Achronim, a Kadmoin almost, was Rabbeinu Menachem Azariah Mipano, the Rama Mipano. Rama Mipano was one of the great Italian Mekubalim in the times of the Beis Yosef. The Rama Mipano had the printing press in Venice. So when the Beis Yosef had the folios, the manuscripts of Beis Yosef in Sfas, and he wanted to have it printed, they had no printing presses in Eretz Yisrael, so he would send over his manuscripts to Italy, to the Rama Mipano. Where we have a whole shiur, there's a whole question and halachic question. Because Chassam Sofer writes in a tshuva that all the Italian rabbanim were clean shaven. And they are toilet on the Rama Mipano. Seems that the Chassam Sofer's opinion was the Rama Mipano did not have a beard. Even though I happen to have a picture of the Rama Mipano where he had a beard, but that's an old shmooze, an old shiur. If you want, you could check it out in the archives. Okay, but the Rama Mipano was one of the all-time great Mekubalim. He wrote a Sefer Asar Ma'amoros, and the Rama Mipano is very excited to discuss this subject. When does it say hein? When does it not say hein? What do you mean? What business? Tosfos already said. In Baba Kama he says sometimes yes, sometimes no. No rhyme or reason. In Masechta Rosh Hashanah he basically says it always says hein, except for Baba Kama where we don't really care per se what the Da'at Avos Nezikin are. It's just an introduction to the next part of the Mishnah. Comes the Rama Mipano and he says like this. I don't like Tosfos' answer. Now, by the way, we can't say that. You're learning Tosfos. I don't like Tosfos' answer. Guess what? Tosfos doesn't think too highly of you either. No, just joking. He thinks highly of you. Just can't argue with him, right? But the Rama Mipano was a quasi Rishon. Rama Mipano was a Kadma in times of Beis Yosef. He disagrees with Tosfos' answer. Why? Because Tosfos seems to be ignoring the Gemara in Krisos. Right? Tosfos says in Masechta Rosh Hashanah, it always says hein, except in Baba Kama, it doesn't say hein, because, well, what about in Krisos? It doesn't say hein there either. And the answer that Tosfos gave, well, in Baba Kama, we don't really focus on what the Da'at Avos Nezikin are, so it doesn't say hein, it doesn't really apply to the Gemara in Krisos, to the Mishna in Krisos. So the Rama Mipano sets forth a Moiradika principle, an amazing thing. Says the Rama Mipano, one thing I agree with Tosfos about is that the Tana was medakdek with every single word. There's no question that if the Tana wrote hein, there's a reason he wrote hein. If the Tana did not write hein, there's a reason he didn't write hein. Says Rama Mipano, let me explain something to you. We have a principle, istakel ba'iraisa ubara alma, which means that the Torah is not just a record of what happened, but the Torah is the blueprint of creation. Whatever exists in creation is created with the words of the Torah. Where every word of the Torah, in other words, I'll give you an example. Rashi brings down in Chumash that when it talks about the camels in Parshas Vayishlach, it doesn't talk about, by all the other animals, by all the other animals, it talks about the male and female animals in Parshas Vayishlach that Yaakov Avinu sent to Esav, except for by the camels. By the camels it talks about the camels and their nursing young. And Rashi says it doesn't mean the nursing young, but rather it means baneim, it's a discrete way of referring to the male. So the Sfarim bring down, we would think the pshatin, you just throw out the clock, just, yeah. Yeah. It's the heat? It's the heat. It's the wind. You can't throw out the wind. Okay. Okay, so the concept, Rashi brings down that the Torah doesn't say the male counterpart of the camels. Not why? Rashi points out camels are very tsonua, so therefore we speak about the camels in a very modest way. So most understand Rashi. The simple way of understanding Rashi is camels are very modest, and therefore when the Torah refers to them, it refers to it in a very discreet way. Not just the opposite. Why are camels modest? How do camels have the nature of being modest? Because in the Torah, when it talks about camels, it speaks about the camel in a very discreet way. That's the blueprint for the makeup of the camel. In other words, the Torah is the blueprint of all phenomena that exist in this world. Says Rama Mipano, it's not only true in the Torah Shebachsav, it's true in the Torah Shebal Peh as well. In other words, the way a Tana chooses to write a concept actually affects the reality of the way the world operates. So when the Tana is speaking about good things, it says hein. For example, Arba Rosh Hashanahim. There are Rosh Hashanahs. Because if you say that magical word, Hain, there are, that's going to make the concept more of a reality. Yeah? So fine, we're good. We're happy that there should be Rosh Hashanahs in the world. Rosh Hashanah's Yom Tov. We're good with that. In other words, by saying the word Hain, it causes the reality to concretize, to materialize, to be realized. So we have no problem with that when we talk about a Rosh Hashanah. Arba, Rosh Hashanah, Hain. There are. We want there to be such a thing. But when we talk about Nezikin, we don't want to say, Arba, Avos, Nezikin, Hain. There are 4 types of damages. That would make it that damage becomes more of a reality in this world. It's going to cause damage to materialize in the world. It's going to cause it to be realized. We don't want that to happen. Says Rama, we don't want to give Havaya, we don't want to give reality to damage. So we just talk about it theoretically. Arba Avos Nezikin. 4 categories of damage. But to say, Hain, there are, we don't want to say there are. Once the Tana writes in Torah, there are, then there will be. So we don't say the word Hain. Or, for example, in Krisais, Arba Mechusarai Kapara. There are 4 people who are lacking Kapara. Why don't we say the word Hain? Because we don't want there to be such stati in the world, such a status in the world. We prefer that most people in the world not be Mitzayraim or Zavim. So therefore we don't say the word Hain. But says Rama Pano, what about Shoimrim? Why do we say Arba Shoimrim Hain? Well, we want there to be Shoimrim. It's like a good thing. But we're not referring to a Shoimrim patrol. Well, why do we want there to be Arba Shoimrim Hain? Why is that such a good thing that the Tana should say the word Hain? Says Rama Mipana, why? Because there's a pasuk in Nevi'im. It says, Al Choy Moisayich Yerushalayim Hifkadetiv Shoimrim. The Yibban Shem appoints Malachim, guardians, Shoimrim to watch Yerushalayim. And in fact, the Dalit Shoimrim are somehow symbolic of the Shoimrim and Shamayim that guard Yerushalayim. So therefore, when it comes to the Shoimrim, we say Arba Shoimrim Hain. That's something that we want. We want that to be realized. We want that to be materialized. We want that to be concretized. In fact, says Ramami Pano, the Dalit Shoimrim, the Mishna says, are really, the Gemara says, are Dalit Shehem Gimel. There are 4 that are 3. Why is that? Because there's a machlokes about the Soicher. Is a Soicher a Shomer Chinam, or is a Soicher a Shomer Sachar? It's a machlokes. Whether a Soicher is a Shomer Chinam or so really, so the Gemara asks, so it's not 4. Either he's a Shomer Chinam or he's a Shomer Sachar, so it's 3. So the Gemara says, you're right, there are 4 different Shoimrim, but there are only 3 different halachos. Well, says the Ramami Panoi, the 4 Shoimrim, which really are allegorical to the 4 types of Shoimrim and Shamayim, are also 4 that are 3. How's that? Because the 4 Shoimrim correspond to the 4 letters of Hashem's name. Now, how many letters in the Yud Kei Vav Kei? You have 4 letters, but really there are 3 because the Hey appears twice. So just like the Dalit Shoimrim are 4 Shoimrim, but in terms of halacha, there are only 3 different status. There's Shomer Chinam, Shomer Sachar, and Shoyel. But the Soicher is either Shomer Chinam or Shomer Sachar. So too in the Oisios of the Shem Hashem, you have a Yud, then you have a Hey, and then you have a Vav. But the Hey already made an appearance. Says the Ramami Panoi, we don't want to say Arba Avos Nezikin Hain. We don't want to give materialization to the damages. Says Ramami Pano, there are 4 main damages in this world. What are they? Shor, Bar, Mave, Hever. Rashi Tevois, Sivma. Sivma. You know Sivma, right? Good old Sivma. The 4 categories of damage are Rashi Tevois, Sivma. Say, what in the world is Sivma? It's a good thing you came tonight. Sivma is the epitome of Tumah in this world. Sivma. It's a thing. So really? It's a word in Chumash. Where? What Parsha? Anybody know? What Parsha? Sivma. Parshas Matos. Very good. Very good. Came all the way from Queens to tell us. What's Shar Bar Mava Hever? Sivma. if you look in Parshas, when it lists all the cities of the Canaanim, all the Tumah of the cities of the Canaanim, the last city mentioned, Achroin, Bezuya, is Sivma. If you look in Parshas Matos, look at number 10. After listing all the cities, V'yes Nevoy, V'yes Baal Ma'oin, Musaboy Shem, V'yes Sivma. Says Ramami Panoi, Sivma is Rosh Tevois, Shor, Bar, Mave, Hever. Let's come back to the Mishnah of Shor, Bar, Mave, Hever for a moment. Let's talk about the order. Tosfos wants to know, Shor, Bar, Mave, Hever. What's the pshat in that order? Well, Shor and Bar, Rashi points out, look in Rashi number 3. What's the reason for the order? Says Rashi, they're listed in the order that they appear in this week's Parsha. In Parshas Mishpatim. First it talks about the Shor, and then it talks about the Bar. Really? But Rashi, Mave, Hever, those are not in order. Actually, Eish comes before Adam. That's Tosfos asks on Rashi. Very nice, Rashi. Shor comes before Bar. But what about the last two? What about Mave and Hever? Why are those two out of order? I'll ask you another question, right? If I were to take a poll right now, if I went before the Shiur started, say, what's Mave? Raise your hand if you're confident to say, I know what Mave was. Nobody? Come on, somebody has to remember the Mave. Right, ask you, what's Mave? Did you know Mave was Adam? Say, yeah, of course, I learned it in 11th grade in basement. I knew Mave was Adam. But you could take a poll on the street. What's Mave? I don't think most people remember. So, if you're a Tana, if you're writing the Mishnah, can you do us a favor maybe? What in the world is Mave? The Gemara asks, my Mave? Mave zu Adam. Shenemar, who remembers the Pasuk? Im tibayun bayu. So, have a good idea. Just write Adam. And then we're good. Everybody knows what Adam is, right? We're good with Adam. That word we know. Well, what's Mave? I have another question. Hever. Hever, probably at least half of you know what Hever is. Just say Eish. Everybody knows what Eish is. Why all of a sudden are we getting to these mysterious words? Mave, Hever. Comes the Chassam Sofer in his Hakdama to Masechta Baba Kama. And the Chassam Sofer wants to know what's the reason for the order of Shor, Bar, Mave, Hever. A very nice Rashi says Shor comes before Bar, but Mave doesn't become before Hever. What's pshat in the order? Says Frek the Chassam Sofer, why does it not say Hein in the Mishnah of Baba Kama? Says the Chassam Sofer, first let me tell you what the Ramami Pano says. And the Ramami Pano, he quotes the Ramami Pano we just learned, that the 4 sources of Tumah, of damage, are Shor, Bar, Mave, Hever, Rashi Tevois, Sivma. The last of the cities listed of the Arei Kanani. Says the Chassam Sofer, let me explain something to you. You know why the Mishnah says Shor, Bar, Mave, Hever? Because it needs to be merames and to allude to this city, Sivma. That's why it's in that order. Not because that's the way it appears in the Chumash. Says the Chassam Sofer. So what's Rashi bothered by? Why is it in that order? Of course it's in that order. Because we need a catchy Rashi Tevois. Shor, Bar, Mave, Hever. Sivma. Says Tosfos, Rashi knows we could come up with a much better Rashi Tevois. You know what? You know what would be a good way to remember the 4 categories of Tumah, of damage? Basmas, Esav's wife. You could just imagine. Only a wife like Basmas could produce an Esav. Basmas must have been some Rashanta. Yeah? Some Machashefa of that Basmas. So Basmas would have been the perfect Rashi Tevois for Bar, Shor, Mave, and Tavira. So why didn't we say Basmas? The answer is, we wanted to start with Shor. Because Shor, it appears first in Mishpatim. Then we go to Bar. Once we do Shor Bar, obviously it's Mave Hever. Because we have to do either Basmas or Sivma. So we couldn't do Basmas. Basmas is out. Because we want to go in order, Shor Bar. Once we go Shor Bar, we have to do Mave Hever. And that's why we have to say Mave. Mave. We can't say Adam. If you say Adam, the whole thing's down the drain. The whole Rashi Tevois is gone. You can't have Sivma. You need the Mem. You can't have Adam. You can't have Eish. You need the Hever. You need Sivma. So let's take a look at number 10. You see that city, Sivma? Vayikru v'shemois hashemos ha'aram asher banu. The last city mentioned is Sivma. That is the source of all Tumah. By the way, the Rama Mipanoi writes something very cryptic, and that is, you see, everything in this world has a counterforce. You see Tumah, there's something that counteracts it by Kedusha. You see Kedusha, there's something that counteracts it by Tumah. You know, we probably live in a generation where more Tumah is accessible faster than any generation that ever lived. One click, you could do more Averos than practically a person could have done 100 years ago in their entire lifetime. What a person could be yored, what a person could descend in an hour, probably an entire generation wasn't able to accomplish in their whole lifetime. But on the other hand, you have tremendous amount of Torah available today. Click of a button. Shiurim, Svarim, every single sefer you can imagine is translated into simple English. Background music, yeah? Everything. So, you have Sivma, that's the Koyach HaTumah, says Rama Mipanoi. Corresponding to Sivma, here just, I want to bring to your attention one last thing. Says Rama Mipanoi, you have the city of Hashem Shama. Hashem Shama. Sam Sofer explains the words of the Rama Mipanoi. What does it mean? Corresponding to Sivma, you have Hashem Shama. If you look at the very end of Sefer Yechezkel, maybe you didn't get there yet. Maybe you're still holding like in Parak Lamed Vav. You know. But if you got up to Parak Mem Ches, the last words of Sefer Yechezkel are Hashem Shama, which Rashi says, if you look at number 15, Rashi says, La'asalava Yerushalayim will be called Hashem Shama. Somehow you have Bituma Sivma, Shar Bar Mavahever, and B'Kedusha you have Hashem Shama. Okay. By the way, just one last offering on this Inyan. If you look in Parshas Vayeshev, look at number 13. The pasuk says that when Eshes Potifera came to seduce Yosef HaTzadik, Vayhi Kayom Hazeh, Vayavoi Habaisa Lasos Malachtoi, V'ein Ish Me'anshe Habayis Sham Baboyis. There was no one home. You look at the Rosh Tevos, Me'anshe Habayis Sham Baboyis. Sivma, Shar, Bar, Mave, Hever. In other words, she was using everything in her arsenal, all forces of Tumah, to try to seduce Yosef HaTzadik. Shar, Bar, Mave, Hever. By the way, the Shlach Kadosh writes, so you have in this week's Parsha 2 Inyanim. You have the 4 categories of damage. Sivma, Shar, Bar, Mave, Hever. By the way, where do these 4 forces of Tumah come from? V'hurachum yichaper avoin. V'lo yashchis. V'hir v'lo sheva apoy. V'lo ya'ir kol chamasai. Avoin, mashchis, af, chema. These are the root of all 4 sources of damage. Corresponding to that, B'Kedusha, you have the Dalet Shoimrim. By the way, the Shlach Kadosh writes something frightening. So you have these 4 sources of Tumah, Shor, Bar, Mave, Hever. Upstairs in Shamayim, there are also 4 types of Einshim. What are they? Bar, that's the pit, that's the grave, that's the kever. That's the kever. Eish, you know what the Eish is upstairs, I don't have to explain, yeah? You have Shane, what happens in the grave? They eat you up, that's Shane, yeah? And then you have, says the Shlach Kadosh, I didn't say everything tonight's going to be pleasant. Then you have Shar, that's the Karen. That's the Karen of the Malach HaMaves. That's also, there are 4 roots of Tumah, of Hezek, of damage. So now we understand why the Tana was very careful not to write the word Hain. The Tana did not want to give stability, conquerization. The Tana didn't want these types of things to materialize. Let's just take it one step further. There is a certain achroin on Gemara, which in the Olam HaYeshivos, most places they avoid because it's so cryptic. This achroin is one of the most cryptic achroinim. You could break your head on every word. And so, where I learned, they love the Maram Shif. I learned Yeshiva Chavetz Chaim, they devour the Maram Shif. It's interesting, there's a Skvara Chassid who wrote volumes on Prakim and Shas. Each volume is on the Maram Shif on a different parak in Ksubas, where each word he has like pages of biur. Maram Shif is impossible. Impossible. The Maram Shif is not known as a... to understand the Maram Shif, you have to have the cheshbon of the Gemara like crystal clear. He's not known as a darshan, but he has a few comments of drush. You have Masechta Chulin, Drashim Nechmadim from the Maram Shif, and you have at the end of Baba Kama, says the Maram Shif, the Dalit Avos Nazikin correspond to the Dalit Avoinois Chamurois. Shar is Avodah Zarah, right? How's that? What was the biggest Avodah Zarah of all time? The Egel. Vayamiru es kvoidam betavne shar oichal esav. That's Avodah Zarah. The Chedo Egel. Bar, Ritzicha. They took Yosef. They threw him into the bar. Eish, Gilui Arayas, Nura Be'amram, the fire of Arayas. And then Adam is a reference to the Chet of Adam Arishon, which was like Gezela, that was stealing. The Dalit Avos Nazikin, which are rooted in the 4 Koiches Atuma, Sivma, also are represented by the Dalit Avonos Chamuros. Marv Rabbi, I take a look at number 18 in the Sefer Magid, Dvarav Liakov, the Magid Mimezrich. And the Magid says, we talk about damage, we talk about your ox, your pit, your fire, but you should know that the biggest mazik of all is you. You're the biggest mazik of all. And let me tell you what the Dalit Avos Nazikim are. How's that? Shar is a lashon of habata, looking. Ashurenu v'layata, looking. There's something called hezek riyah. You could damage somebody by looking at them. Ayin hara. Bar. What's a bar? The damage of you could be a bar. What's a bore? A bore is a ignoramus. How am I a dad? I'm just sitting here. I'm just sitting there flipping the channels all day. I'm not hurting anybody. Who am I hurting? No. If you don't learn Torah, you're mazik the world. So what do you mean? I just waste away all my free time. I work, and then the rest of the time I take it easy. I'm not hurting anybody. No, you're a mazik. You're mazik that all the bad things happen if you don't make use of your time. You're a bar. Bar is an ignoramus. Shane. Achila gasa. So I'm not hurting anybody. Don't be too into food. Food is good. You enjoy it. You make a bracha. Puts you in a good mood. Don't be so into food. It's good. Food is enjoyed. You thank Hashem. That's it. This place is even better. This place is 10 and this place is 10 plus. Get a life. Come on. What's the difference? How long do you eat the food for? How long? That piece that you like. Right now you didn't eat it yet. Right? So right now it's here. You're not getting any enjoyment. So let's time exactly how long the enjoyment takes. Okay, now it's gone. That was the whole thing? Okay. You're done, right? And then afterwards, most people afterwards, they tell, I'm never going there again. But they go again. Don't be so into it. It's a hezek. You're mazik. Who are you mazik? You're mazik yourself. But we're going to talk about the 4th category of damage tonight. The 4th cat. Once I had a Rebbe, he said a very chachmadika thing. In terms of, how much should a person enjoy in this world? Obviously, I think in our generation, we had more enjoyment than our grandparents did, right? So how much should you... I could afford it, so should I... Here's a rule. Don't try to increase your hana intake. You're able to have a certain amount of intake. Don't look to increase it. You have food, you have nice things, enjoy it. Don't look to increase. Don't look to increase. Together. Otherwise, it's endless. It's endless. Enjoy life. Enjoy what Hashem gives you. You could afford a certain standard. Enjoy. Gesund to hate. But don't look to increase. Okay. Not saying that's not Torah Misinai, but it's Dvar Chachma. It's a smart thing. Anyway, but we're going to talk about the 4th category of damage. The fire. You know what the 4th category of damage is? Kas. Anger. And this is the most destructive hezek that exists in this world. The damage of fire. In fact, in this week's Parsha, Shlach Kadosh writes, Kiseitze Eish, when the fire goes out. It says the Shlah, of course, literally, in Mikra Yotzim Dei Pshuta, it's talking about the damage of fire, but it also says the Shlah, it's a remez to Eish, the Eish Hakas. It's a remez to Eish Hakas, that a person has to be very careful not to act in anger, not to let his anger damage. Because what a person could damage with anger, he can't damage with... You could try to set a million things on fire, you could do much more damage with anger. The biggest hezek of all is the hezek of Eish. Says the Shlah, you want to be holy? You know, a lot of people, they want to be holy. You want to be holy? You don't have to go to the mikvah. And you don't have to learn Kabbalistic, esoteric thing. You want to be holy? Klal gadol huzeh. You want to be holy with every form of holiness? Control your temper. It can do you much better than dunking in the mikvah. If you can't control your anger, and you could dunk from today till tomorrow, you could dunk wherever you want. It's as good as eating Dunkin' Donuts. That's how good it is. You want to be holy? Control your temper. Say one time a day, I'm going to keep my mouth closed when I'm upset. You'll be much holier than anything else you do. You want tikkunim, you want kedusha, you want to feel holy. That's how you become holy. It says in Mesilas Yesharim, we're gonna read it two ways. Look at number 22. It says in Mesilas Yesharim, Chazal tell us, Kol hakoyes keilu oived avodah zara. Someone who gets angry, says in look at number 22, it's like serving idols. What type of anger is like serving idols? Says Mesilas Yesharim, someone who gets angry about every single thing that is done against their will, to the point where he loses his seichel, that type of anger is like worshipping idols. Says Mesilas Yesharim, Hinei ish kazeh kedai lahachriv oila mole imya yecholas biyada. A guy with a temper, if he could destroy the world, he would do it. Someone who has a temper, in his moment of anger, if he had the capability, he would literally destroy the whole world. The only reason he doesn't is he happens not to know how to split the atom. He hasn't figured it out yet. He doesn't know how to splice the atom. If he could splice the atom, he would drop an atom bomb on the world, destroy the whole world in his anger. The only reason he's not is he doesn't have the capability of doing that. Why? Ki ein haseichel shoyle boi klal. All intellect has ceased from this person. Says in Mesilas Yesharim, v'husar tam mamish. He loses his brain. Kechol hachayos hatarfos. He reverts into a wild animal. He is now a rhinoceros. Meet this guy, Yankov. He used to be a fine guy. He comes, he davens with a minyan 3 times a day. At the present moment, he belongs in the zoo. He is a chayara. There's no difference. The rhinoceros is better. Why? Because the rhinoceros never had the opportunity to be Adam. This person has removed the seichel from his brain, and he operates now like a wild animal. Says the Mesilas Yesharim, the alav nemar, toirev nafshoy ba'apoy. He tears his soul away in his anger. Halamancha teyaz of arts. Does everyone in the world need to move out because of this guy? Basically, if this guy was around, everybody has to vacate the planet because he would just destroy them. And everybody's thinking, I know a guy like that. No. We need to be thinking, I know when I'm like that. Right? That's what we need to be shaking our heads. I know when I'm like that. Because that's what kas. Mesilas Yesharim is not... The Mesilas Yesharim says kas is human nature. Human nature is easily nisoyer to kas, easily aroused to anger. So the Mesilas Yesharim is just painting a very realistic picture of the Baal Kas. We haven't yet really fully mined the words of the Mesilas Yesharim. Because Reb Chaim Vital writes in the Shar Ruach HaKodesh about the Arizal, that of all the Averos in the Torah, the Arizal writes, you need to be most careful from Kas. I would never eat gebrokst on Pesach. Good for you, but you're Oived Avodah Zarah like every day. Right? Now I don't eat over there. Why not? Because they only have 4 mashgichim. Yeah, but you're busy. Basically, every day you come home, and you spread out a mat, and you worship Buddha. Really? Yeah, in your house. Says the Arizal, of all the Averos in the Torah, you need to be careful from anger. Why? Because when you do an Avero with any other limb, it only affects that limb. But says the Arizal, quoted by Rav Chaim Vital, number 23, Aval midas hakas poigemes kol haneshama kula. Kas ruins the neshama umachlefes oisa lagamri. Let's explain what happens. Basically, says Rav Chaim Vital, on this words of that the Mesillas Yesharim quotes, Toref nafshoy bi'apoi. You know what happens when you get angry? Basically, you used to have an neshama, right? When you were at your bris, they gave the Rav, they gave the Rebbe, they said V'yikar Shemai b'Yisrael Yankel ben Ploini, yeah? And your neshama came down, and you were always Jewish, right? The problem is when you get angry, says Arizal, the neshama leaves the body. That's it. You're gone. You're done. But what happens to all the mitzvahs I did? Sorry, you lost them. They're gone. They're out. They're out. You got to start all over. No, this is not a good thing. No, really. This is serious. This is bad. You lost it. You got to start over. All the mitzvahs, all the tikkunim, all the zechuyos, they're out. Where are they? I don't know. They're in a cloud. I don't know. I don't even know what a cloud is. I just hear people saying, I'm not Mr. Computers, believe me. It's gone. That's the meaning of the pasuk Toref nafshoy bi'apoi. And you get a neshama like from the dark side, says Rav Chaim Vital. So Baruch Hashem, there's a Sefer Morav Hashemesh that it is, you could get it back if you do tshuva. Tshuva takes care of everything, so tshuva rectifies it. But like, who even thinks of doing tshuva for getting angry? You know, Yom Kippur, everyone, al chet. What are you thinking about? What are we thinking about on Yom Kippur? Do we think about that? Do we need to do tshuva for getting angry? Maybe we do. Maybe we do. You know, who thinks about that they have on their cheshbon avodah zarah? That's like one thing when we come to Yom Kippur, we feel pretty confident about, that we don't have to do tshuva for bowing down to statues of the Yozel, right? You might have to. But if a person does tshuva, the Morav Hashemesh writes in Parshas Tazria a very frightening thing. He says, you know, the life force of a person, ki hadam hu hanefesh. He says if you observe someone who gets angry, while he's angry, if you ever draw comics, right? Yehuda, my son, he's a big artist, so he could draw a picture of someone getting angry and his face turns red, right? But what happens after the person gets angry? Person loses all color. You know why? Because that shows his neshama left his body. The Morav Hashemesh writes, neshama's gone. He basically died. Call Chevra Kadisha. You know, so after somebody gets angry, you should bring, maybe with this little shaksa, you know, we'll call in the Chevra Kadisha. They'll come to wash the guy. They'll put on the tachriche. Baruch Hashem, the guy could continue to walk. But he said, if a person does tshuva, you get all your mitzvahs back. Don't worry, we're not here to scare you that much. A little bit is good, but it's a very serious thing. In fact, Or Chaim HaKadosh writes in Parshas Bereshis, Vayichar Kayin got angry. Hashem says, Lama naflu fanecha. I see it on your face. I could tell your neshama left. Lama naflu fanecha. Rabbi Sai, of all the mazikim in this world, forget about the shar. Forget about the yesh. The biggest mazik in the world is an adam. Is the fire of kas. Look, and we're gonna explain even further. You know, the Sefer HaChinuch writes about capital punishment. The Sefer HaChinuch gives ta'amim, gives reasons for the various mitzvahs. So he talks about, why does the Torah offer capital punishment? What's the reason for capital punishment? The reason for capital punishment, let's say somebody kills somebody. Why do we kill them? You know, the liberals will be up in arms. Capital punishment. No, they need therapy. That's all. They just need therapy. But no, the therapy is we take them away from the world. They'll have therapy upstairs. What's the reason for capital? Says the Sefer Chinuch. So you would have asked me, why do we kill a murderer? Get this guy out of here! He's a murderer. He's a menace to society. You can't have murderers walking in the street. Says the Sefer Chaim, you know what we're trying to do? You can't have people around who get angry. Kas is so disgusting that if somebody's anger could bring them to murder, we need to eradicate the midas hakas. What? That's the problem here? That the guy got angry? The problem is he snuffed out an innocent person's life. No, even worse than that. You can't have in society people who have no control over their midas. I happen to find when I talk about the midah of kas, it's a topic that resonates with people more than any other topic. Everybody knows. This is something that everybody needs to work on. And it doesn't happen overnight. It happens, like all tikkun amidos, very slowly. A little bit of time. The person has to think about it. The person has to work on avodas hamidos. The Gra writes that if a person is not working on the midos, lama lichayim. What are you here for? It's the purpose of life. The purpose of life is for a person to work on their character. So one Eitzah, Sefer Chasidim writes, is the following. He brings down in Ois Pei Gimel number 28 that a certain chassid, a righteous individual, commanded his child. He said, you want to honor me after my patira? I'm giving you one good Eitzah. The Eitzah is, right, basically in the world, in the Welt, they have certain creeds and certain ideas. So if you want to know what's right, you just do the opposite, right? You never go to sleep angry, right? You don't go to sleep angry. No, just the opposite. Go to sleep angry. If you're angry, wait the night. Deal with it in the morning. In the morning you calm down. Most bad things that come as a result of anger is when a person acts in the heat of the moment. Go to sleep. Make up. You're not going to say a word. You're not going to deal. You'll deal with it in the morning. You might not be perfect in the morning. You'll be a lot better than in the heat of the moment. So let's end with this. Says Rabbi Chanan Wasserman. There's a pasuk in the end of Koheles. Soif davar hakol nishma. The end of the matter, at the end of the day, after everything has been heard, what's the goal in this world? Es Elokim Yirah, fear God. Kizeh kol adam. That's a man. Kizeh, that's all man is. If you want to know what's a man, fear Hashem. Says Rabbi Chanan, really? You would think Yiras Shamayim is like a good thing, a nice thing, a wonderful thing, but you wouldn't necessarily say the definition of man is Yiras Shamayim. No. Shlomo Melech is saying the definition of man, you want to know what a man is? Yiras Shamayim. Meaning, the more Yiras Shamayim you have, the more of an Adam you are. The less Yiras Shamayim you have, the less of an Adam you are. Says Rabbi Chanan, let me explain. Pasuk in Bereshis. Na'aseh Adam. Let us make man. Wait a second. Who's talking? God? Who's he talking to? Let us make man? I thought Hashem created man. So Rashi says, the famous pshat, he consulted with the Malachim. It says the Zohar HaKadosh, who's Hashem talking to now? Adam? Says the Zohar HaKadosh, when Hashem made man, he turned to every single Bria, and he said, I want every Bria to contribute their nature in the creation of man. So in other words, Hashem turned to the ox. He said, ox, give your oxness and donate it to man. He turned to the lion, give your lion power. He turned to the leopard, give your leopardness. He turned to the snake, give your snakeness. He turned to every creature, he said, donate your essence to produce this man. In other words, what is man? A microcosm of the universe. Man is an olam katan. If you want to know what is an Adam, everything in this world squeezes into man. That's the pshat. It says in Pirkei Avos, have a gibor ka'ari, be strong like a lion. Here, this guy, the guy yeshiva man, a guy. He weighs 120 pounds, right? He's a skin and bones. You tell him be strong like a lion. The guy's a wimp. Maybe so. What shech does he have to do with a lion? What are you telling him to be strong? The answer is no. There's lion in every person. You could summon it out. You could summon out that gevura. There's swiftness like a deer in every person. Says the Rebbe Chanan, as harmful as a lion could be, an Adam could be so much more harmful. Look, let's say you let a lion loose on Central Avenue. I mean, how many people is a lion going to eat already? Even if he's hungry. 5, and then whatever, they'll shoot him and that's it. But an Adam who's out of control, he could kill 6 million. And because an Adam is not just the Ari. He's a rhinoceros, he's a tiger, he's a boa constrictor, he's a snake. A man without or the reins, without something to keep him in, a man is much more. See, the problem is, says Rabbi Chanan, a man is not just a lion and a snake, but he has 2 things at his disposal that a lion doesn't have. He has a brain also. So a lion, whatever damage he does, is only instinctive. Man, he could sit and cunningly plan to do bad. And not only that, he has another weapon of mass destruction. He has a mouth. So as much damage as a lion could do, as much damage as a shark could do, he's much worse than a shar, a bar, a mave, adam. It's kas. Kas is snake, lion, leopard, all that. So says Rabbi Chanan, how do you keep a lion in check? You got to put the lion in a cage, but not a cage made out of wood, right? If the cage made out of wood, the lion's coming right out. You need iron chains. Otherwise, you're dead meat. Says Rabbi Chanan, if you need iron chains, so really when a kid is born, and they put around the ankle that little thing, they should really be chaining him up, putting him in jail. Right? He's like, oh, there's a lion. Who knows what this kid could be? So it says Rabbi Chanan, if you need to put a lion in a cage, so what do you do? What's the cage for man? Some men you have to lock away also. What's the cage of man? The answer is, there's only one thing that keeps man in check. Yiras Shamayim, fear of God. The more fear of God you have, the more of a man you are. The less fear of God, the more of a lion and a leopard and a snake and a wild animal you are. With Yiras Shamayim, you're an Adam. Without Yiras Shamayim, you're a rhinoceros. We all are. That's how damaging a person could be. Person does not have Yiras Shamayim. Kas, you didn't do this. You could destroy you could destroy a world. You could destroy an Olam Malay. That's the limud, the arba avos nazikin, the 4 types of damages. The shar, the bar, the Tana was very careful not to write hain. He didn't want to give any concretization, any materialization to the types of damages. But some of these damages we need to be thinking very carefully how to do a shmira malula, right? There's certain types of damages. You need to be a real good shomer to make sure you don't damage. So we need to think about ourselves, that we don't let mave and the hever, we can't unleash it. You unleash. Everybody has in them the potential of the Ari, of the Chayara. And Rebbeinu Shalom should give us siyata d'shmaya to elevate ourselves, elevate our midos, elevate our Yiras Shamayim, and then Kizeh Kol Adam, this is our goal in our existence in this world. Shkaya.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.